Survey says. Good afternoon. And so I saw a survey in the live stream that I was going over, and I thought it was so full of interesting data that I should present it as more of a podcast for my listeners. Um, it's a home advisor survey, and let's just get into it right now. I'm gonna pull it up for the screen for you, and then we're just gonna go over it. I've got my notes. So um, what it was um, it was a survey of 2,000 homeowners, all who purchased a home in at least the last 5 years, and then it was split between buying during the pandemic and buying before the pandemic. Okay, and so one of the questions was buying your home a stressful experience? Okay, and pre-pandemic it was 60% said yes, and during the pandemic, buyers said 86% yes. And I got to thinking, what's up with that? Because buying a home is always a stressful experience. Um, could it be possible that someone who bought a home 3 years ago doesn't remember the stress as vividly as someone who bought a house a month ago? Um, as an example, I can't remember what I posted on YouTube last week. So is it just possible that the time has caused a fade um, in your memory? Because I mean, buying a house is always stressful. You're making changes. You're doing new things. I mean, it's not natural to buy a home. Then the question became, how many homes did you view? And I have the chart here, and then I'm going to just go over it on mine. I'll read it out. Is 1 to 5 homes pre-pandemic, 58%, and 72% during the pandemic, 1 to 5. 6 to 10 houses pre-pandemic, 31%, during the pandemic, 23%, and then 11 or more houses pre-pandemic, 11%, and 5% during the pandemic. Now, what's up with these numbers? I usually show my buyers more than 11 homes, regardless of whether or not it has to do with the pandemic. Why? Well, how would you possibly be able to compare homes in a particular area without going to look at them? Like 1 to 5 homes searched? That never happens for me. I mean, I say that, but I had a lady one time buy a house on the first time we went. But it very seldom ever happens. That was an exception. I was wondering, is it possible that there are fewer homes to see? The inventory of homes available to view is lower, so perhaps home buyers are seeing less of them? And then tell me the truth. If you bought a home within the past 5 years, tell me how many homes you personally went and viewed with your agent or at an open house, and put it in the comment section below. Because if people are only looking at between 1 and 5 houses before they choose to buy, that's crazy to me. I mean, I'm barely getting going when we look at, 2 homes, 3 homes. That I just don't understand how that works. I've considered price ranges as well. So would it matter if someone was buying an $800,000 house versus a $200,000 house? I don't think so. You have to look at the houses in person to educate yourself on the marketplace. I get trusting your agent and all, but if I were in the position of a buyer, I'd want and I'd need to look at many houses in person. So like this doesn't even seem realistic to me. I've always heard that agents will say they'll show you 3 houses, and then you're supposed to pick between one of those 3 and write an offer. But I've always thought that in practice would be a terrible thing to do to somebody, and I would never do it. I mean, I'm getting paid to show houses. I'm getting paid to help my buyers find the best house they can possibly find in the right price, at the right value. So I can't imagine looking at just 1 to 5 homes. That would blow my mind, regardless of whether or not there's a pandemic. You always have to be out there. If you're buying a home, if you're getting ready to buy a home, you need to be out there looking, physically seeing each property, comparing what each property has versus what other properties have, seeing what those houses have sold for, and then going on down the road. I'm blown away by the statistic that 72% of the home buyers surveyed bought a home based on 1 to 5 showings, and that just blows my mind. Next question: did you lose a bid on at least one other property? Um, 31% pre-pandemic said yes. 79% said during the pandemic they lost out at least one other property. Now, I can be I can remember being in competition with 1 or 2 buyers before the pandemic, but nothing like the multiple offer bids of today. 30 to 40 offers per house. That's crazy. To me, this seems manufactured. The housing craze, low rates, worldwide pandemic come together to form it. It's not normal. It's not natural. Um, when a buyer loses out consistently on properties they write on, they get super discouraged. This is something that we need to help our buyers with. Let them know up front that their offer may not be accepted. Help them deal with the emotions of losing out on a home. Uh, you know, there's I can usually tell when a house is going to have multiple offers because it looks nice, and when you go there, it's priced right. But a home that's nice and priced right in today's market doesn't sell at asking. It sells at $20,000 and $30,000 over asking. And so, you know, I'll tell my buyers ahead of time, look, this house, everything about it leads me to believe that it's going to go for over asking. And so if they choose to continue to, want to go see the house, I'm totally good with that. But I don't want them to be naive when we go to a house and think that the price that it's listed for is the price that it's going to sell for in this market, because usually that's the basis for the starting of the negotiations. You're probably going to be much, much higher. Now, I hope that changes. Um, the effect, though, of losing out on a house, whether or not there's one offer or there's 20, is the same. I mean, the feelings are just bad. And so what normally happens with my buyers is we find out, say, probably on a Monday or Monday night that we don't get the house. We find out either 2 ways. One, we get an email or a text, very seldom ever get a call. Or we just see that the property goes pending in the system and the agent doesn't even bother to tell us, which is terrible. And I wish that our brethren will be a little bit more professional in their conduct. But whatever. The next question: did you make a decision more quickly than you were comfortable with? Pre-pandemic, 48%. During the during the pandemic, 84%. So, did you make a decision more quickly than you were comfortable with? So, in a way, if you just looked at 5 houses before making a decision to buy, I could see how you'd be uncomfortable with the amount of time you needed to make a decision. That makes sense. I mean, you look at 2 houses and write an offer and it's accepted. That I can see how you would be uncomfortable, and where you would make a decision quickly. But it would also make sense if you saw a house that was, say, on a Sunday afternoon. Let's say you went on a Sunday afternoon to look at a house, and the offers were due Sunday evening. That doesn't give you much time to think. But if you're working with a good real estate agent, a good buyer's agent, and you understand the market, your best strategy is to try to get a home the minute that it is available to be shown. And then you could probably get 2 nights to make a decision. That's what I encourage my buyers. So I don't understand. I mean, if you're in the marketplace and you know things are going fast, and say a house comes up for sale on Friday, offers due on Sunday, you need to be at the house on Friday night. Take a look at it once. When you go through it the first time, are you interested or no? If you're not interested, move on. If you are interested, perhaps schedule another showing for Saturday. Perhaps sleep on it overnight. You've got until Sunday to make a decision most of the time. Now, sometimes in this market, someone will reserve the right to take an offer as they're presented. That's not really a reservation. That happens all the time. But if they just go by what they say, offers are due by Sunday, that gives you a little bit of time. Now, the next question I thought was really, really, really interesting. It says, who or what pressured you? And I'm assuming this is who or what pressured you to make a decision. So a realtor, let me make sure I have it up so that you can see it. So here you go. My realtor. So that was 42% before the pandemic, 67% during the pandemic. The owner of the house, 41% pre-pandemic, 57% during the pandemic. A partner, 39% pre-pandemic, 51% pandemic. And I want to come back to that one. And then limited inventory, 39% pre-pandemic, 28% during the pandemic. So my main problem is that we don't have a really good idea of what the definition of pressure is. Let me put it this way. I would feel pressure to purchase a home, and it wouldn't matter when it was during the pandemic, and it wouldn't be anyone putting pressure, anybody other than myself. And here's the reasons why. Number one, I want the house. Two, I want to stop looking for houses. And three, I'm spending my income to purchase a house. These are all issues where I would feel pressure on myself. It wouldn't be attributed to anyone else. Now, why is your realtor pressuring you? And in what way? For example, if I tell you as an agent that there are 14 offers on this house, and if you want to be number 15, you're probably going to need to be way above asking price, is that causing you pressure? Because I'm telling you the truth, and it's not intended to cause pressure. If I said as an agent, if you don't buy this house, it could be months before we find another, is that pressure? That could also be true or false, but it's unknowable at the time that it's said. I just don't understand where the pressure from the real estate agent is coming from. I mean, are they sitting there saying like, write a contract now, even though you don't like the house, right? I mean, I just don't understand where that pressure is coming from. For the owner of the house to cause pressure. So what's this about? How is the owner causing pressure? The only way I can see is they chose a listing agent who's a jerk or clueless. That's the only area. But that would come from the listing agent and not the seller. Is this possibly misplacing pressure in this situation? How is it that the listing agent in this deal didn't make this list? For the partner to be causing pressure, are you telling your partner, buy this house, are we done? Like, what would the pandemic have to do with that? Why would that change the numbers? Or are they saying, buy this house in the country so that we can have more fresh air? Like, again, like changing locations, that seems like pressure that could happen from your partner at any point in time, not related to the pandemic. Finally, the limited inventory causing pressure. This is the only situation where the roles are reversed, meaning that those who bought before the pandemic attributed pressure due to limited inventory. What's this about? The inventory is far lower now than it ever was, but the home buyer is attributing that lower. Could it be that they already had a different category for their answer and they're pressured more elsewhere? And that's the only thing I can think of at the moment. So maybe they chose their realtor as the most pressure, and they by the time they got to listing inventory, they'd already made a decision or they'd already said something. I thought that was pretty fascinating. And you can see here, my partner, the owner of the house. It's like, what is that about? The limited inventory, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. So anyway, with that, I'm going to head out. I just thought that was worthy of a podcast so that you could see a breakdown pre-pandemic and during the pandemic of house buying. And, I don't really believe much in that survey, but I mean, it is a survey and they did produce it. I mean, they did send it out in the press. So let me know, though. I'd be interested to know about anything that you've experienced during the housing run up here. If you did look at more than 5 houses, if you did encounter pressure from your spouse or your partner, I'm intrigued. What I'm reading isn't what I see in my everyday real estate career. So with that, I'm going to head on out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one.